everybody. Welcome to episode 115 out of 122 of 55 and 5, the only series here on YouTube that goes with a happy face, with a smiling face through all 122 of the 1955 Parkhurst Wrestling trading card sets. Ian Riccaboni, Cary Silkin, AJ, our producer from Bisson Creative and Web Design, Captain Lou, Uncle Gunny, our spiritual advisors, 5-minute history lesson on each of the cards in the set. Cary, we got one today that you have to get because he's on your wall. Okay. But the catch, there's 2 other people on it, and you wanted little people, and we'll see what happens here. So, I'm gonna show this to the crowd here, and no, it is not Spanky, Alfalfa, or any of the Little Rascals on your beautiful Little Rascals poster. Cary, what can you tell me about Ursus and Hombre Montana? And I believe that's Fred Atkins. Or maybe not Fred Atkins. Excuse me. That's what we did yesterday. Let me take a look here. That is Fred Talbot. Excuse me. Fred Talbot. I needed the safety net.
Well, Hombre Montana, he was a wrestler, but he was more of a movie star.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you explain to the folks where he did his finest work? Besides No Holds Barred.
He was in a lot of grade B stuff.
Yeah.
Ian's pointing at a Bowery Boys thing, but he was, if you wanted a tough guy, monstrous, dangerous guy, he was your man. Mm-hmm. I mean, he had some big roles later in his career.
Absolutely. He was Luca Brasi in The Godfather, and he was discovered as they were trying to hash out differences that they had. So I'm going to make sure I get this right. I have my safety net on my phone today. So it was the Italian American Civil Rights League. And they had some issues with the original script of The Godfather. They didn't want the word mafia used.
Yes.
They didn't want certain other words used. And they said
Cosa Nostra.
And they said it didn't represent Italian Americans well. So Frank Sinatra and the Colombo crime family step in, and they say, well, what if you did this? What if you did that? And while they're on set, kind of this negotiation, and the Italian Americans, some of the things are a little, I would agree with eliminating. But he's standing there with one of the members of the Colombo family, and they get a look at him, and Jesus, who's this hulking individual? And he gets cast nearly immediately for the role of Luca Brasi. One of the things that charmed them, one of the executive assistants, one of the females, broke her watch. And he says, don't worry, we'll take care of it. Comes back a few days later with a diamond watch for the executive assistant. That kind of either the urban legend or really happened, and that left a big impression. And that kind of, I don't know if he was already cast. I don't know if that helped kind of charm his way in, but he was in the orbit, gets cast in the movie, and really plays a pivotal role. Some of his scenes, he was very nervous to be across from
Marlon
Brando, and he was visibly nervous and stumbling over his lines. And some of them they actually kept in the movie, because it added to his character of this big, tough guy just being kind of shook up by the environment that he's in. So Hombre Montana, he was also in one of Richard Gere's first movies, which was very interesting. And he was in, the one I remember him from was The Jerk. So he's in The Jerk toward the end of his life. So
now, the other guy on the card.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, he also discovered Eddie Sharkey, who ended up breaking in Hawk, Animal, Rick Rude.
Eddie Sharkey discovered everybody.
Everybody from Minnesota, Eddie Sharkey discovered.
So that's how he was discovered.
Yes.
But his partner on this card.
Ursus, yeah.
Ursus.
You know Ursus.
I have so.
Does the name Jesse Ortega ring a bell?
Absolutely.
Or Bull Ortega.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good, because Bull Ortega had a run like 67, 68.
Yeah.
I saw Bull Ortega.
Oh, really?
Live at Sunnyside.
Really?
Yes.
He had one of the rare televised world title matches, too, against Bruno.
Okay.
But he did a big house against Bruno. He drew 15,000 in 67 against Bruno.
Yeah, I mean, he got a lucky break. Hopefully they paid him well. Because he was, I mean, around the country, I don't think he was...
No, he was the great Ursus around the country. And then he comes into New York and he's Bull Ortega and then he's Jesse Ortega. He was kind of just dragging his feet, spinning his wheels. He gets a good break in 54. He wrestles for the NWA Championship. 59, he's in the first ever JWA World League. JWA kind of becomes New Japan eventually. So he's in one of the first big Japanese tournaments. After that, though, he's kind of, I don't want to say putzing around. He's a bigger guy, but just kind of spinning his wheels. But then he's 67. He comes in and he's wrestling Bruno. He's on top. Comes in right away. Defeats two 2-on-1 matches on TV, and all of a sudden he's on top. Does the big house at least once at the Garden. Does a big house in Boston and Philly. Then they run the match on TV, which was interesting for the time because they must have known he was on the way out. Because they had Bruno beat him on TV, which a world title match on TV at that point never happened.
Huge.
Yeah. So just amazing. And then from there, he comes back. He's kind of in and out as Jesse Ortega and beats guys like Arnold Skolin and Pete Sanchez, but he loses to everybody else. So.
And excuse me, the man in the middle here.
Kind of a mystery to me, Fred Talbot. I was hoping you wouldn't ask. So the back of the card...
Did they identify him?
Yeah, the back of the card identifies him. There was a player on the Yankees, Fred Talbot. That's not the same Fred Talbot. There was another who was a television presenter, but I don't believe that's the Fred Talbot either. Even though the eras are not... They're kind of close, but not really. He may have been a promoter. This is one we're going to need your help on, fans. He looks like he might be a smaller wrestler. Then again, Hombre Montano is 6'6". The great giant Ursus was also around 6'4", 6'5". So one of the things that makes Ursus tough to look up and find information on is if you don't know that he was Jesse Ortega, there's been several wrestlers since known as the great Ursus.
Interesting.
So this is the Ursus that was from the 50s into the 60s. And really great career. It's funny to think that there'd be no Godfather as we know it. There'd be no Legion of Doom. There'd be no Rick Rude. There'd be no Mr. Perfect. There'd be no Brock Lesnar. If Hombre Montana doesn't find Eddie Sharkey, who helps get all of those guys into wrestling.
Quite a chain.
Yeah. So Hombre Montana, arguably the most historically important person that we've talked about in the entire set.
If nothing else came out of the 55 and 5, it was that revelation right there.
Right. Hombre Montana. Without him, he's the butterfly effect. We may not have wrestling as we know it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So if anybody knows anything about Fred Talbot, not the baseball player for the Yankees, not the English television presenter, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear more about Mr. Talbot. And if anybody wants to hear more about the 55 Parkhurst set, join us next week. Because Cary,
we're coming down to the end. Yeah. There's got to be some.
we got 2 repeats that are A+ Hall of Famers. We got Buddy Rogers.
Say no more.
And we got a couple more. So that's what we have to look forward to on 55 and 5. I want to thank AJ, our producer, Captain Lou, and Uncle Gunny, our spiritual advisors. I want to thank Cary for joining us. And we want to thank you for watching episode 155 of 55 and 5. I'm Ian Riccaboni. Happy wrestling, everybody.